Right now, let's bring in our political panel. John Thomas is a Republican political strategist and managing director of Nestpoint. Also with us is Dr. Rashad Ritchie, host and executive producer of Indisputable on the Young Turks Network. Gentlemen, both of you, thank you for joining us this morning. Such an important meeting between these two leaders. Tensions, as we've been telling people, showing you, they are high on the table. Of course, tariffs, and it comes some of that rhetoric, I should say, related to President Trump wanting Canada to become the 51st state. But there are other things on the docket as well. How do you see this meeting playing out? John, I'll start with you.
I think it's a good first step. Remember, Carney campaigned for prime minister largely against President Trump. So the fact that one of his first acts is to request a meeting with President Trump, I think is a good olive branch that he's looking to reset relations. And it's also, I think, it shows that President Trump, by taking the meeting, wants to make a deal here, but President Trump also realizes the U.S. has the cards in this negotiation. So I'm optimistic that relations will be reset and that President Trump will cut a deal with Canada because it's in both countries' best interests.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, Rashad, if a lot of what Carney said over the weekend was more rhetoric for his base, and maybe if he softens his tone a little bit. We'll have to wait and see, though, when he actually meets with the president. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so first of all, Trump blow it. He usually does, number one. Number two, I push back on the narrative that somehow America has all the cards here. The reason is because 3/4 of the U.S.-Canadian trade relationship is about business inputs, not finished goods, which simply means those who need the products to do additional manufacturing in the United States of America, so you can say made in America technically, gets eliminated quickly. That's a whole lot of manufacturing in our northern section. And third, let's be frank. This was an unforced error. Nobody was checking for this. Nobody wanted this. Nobody said, yes, Mr. President Trump, we need you to do this to Canada. And the reality is the prime minister was elected based on the platform of running against the adverse nature of Trump's rhetoric. This Trump is the unifying force for both conservatives and liberals in Canada, ironically.
All right, so we saw you shaking your head. You can respond to that,
Yeah.
Josh.
Sure. I mean, I just couldn't disagree more. I mean, when President Trump says we have the cards and they don't, it's really simple. If there is no deal to be made, Canada will become extinct. It will hurt the U.S. a little bit, but we'll go on just fine. Our GDP won't collapse. Canada needs the U.S. much more than the U.S. needs Canada. And furthermore, it was not a mistake of what the U.S. did to Canada. It was trying to rebalance trade to make sure that reciprocal tariffs, if you tariff us, we're going to tariff you. It's rebalancing, and it's an effort of fairness. So there's no mistake here. But to think that somehow Canada has leverage over the U.S. Look, the fact that the first act that the prime minister did was requesting to meet with President Trump tells you exactly who needs whom in this relationship.
All right, so gentlemen, is it possible for Trump and Carney to put differences aside and actually hammer out a trade deal? And if so, what would make the Trump administration happy, and the same for Canada? Rashad, we'll start with you.
Well, see, that's the problem. The American policy of trade and tariff under Trump has no goal. As a matter of fact, even when the tariff is announced, there's no goal pronounced. That, once again, is the problem. And let's be clear, Trump made a false argument to even start this trade war. Half of his argument was about fentanyl. He said, yeah, this is a major source of fentanyl coming into the United States of America. But his own government, the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Border Security, says 0.02% of fentanyl bust happened last year via the Canadian-American border. So his argument is false. His context is false. And typically, the rhetoric follows that false narrative. And so you see the rhetoric happening from Trump. Is Carney based, is his stuff based on rhetoric? He's a politician as well. He had to run for political office. But let's be clear, they are unified more so with their leader in Canada than we are unified with our leader in America.
John, Rashad is correct. It did start out with fentanyl. Then it took place. They put security there, security measures for fentanyl. Then all of a sudden, the tariffs just continued with Canada and Mexico as well. So how do you explain this? He's the second one, Rashad, the second pundit this morning to be on to say they don't understand why Trump is treating Canada like this.
Well, there's two things. First of all, the fentanyl coming from the northern border isn't simply just being driven across the border. Part of it actually gets mailed from Canada and dropped, like using the United States Postal Service. So part of it is Trump wants Canada to crack down on the fentanyl trade on their side before it gets to the U.S. That's number one. But more importantly is a trade issue, even more than fentanyl. And that's on things like lumber and others, where the Canada charges extraordinary tariffs if the U.S. were to sell lumber into Canada. And Trump just wants a fair deal. He says, look, if you're going to tariff us $1, we're going to tariff you $1. But why don't we not tariff either country so we can have free trade between each country? He's trying to do that with Canada. He's trying to do that with China, the UK. It's actually quite consistent. And I'm optimistic that both countries will come to a deal here. One thing we know about President Trump, he likes to make deals. He wrote a book about art of the deal. I think he's looking to make a deal here, and it's a good sign that the prime minister is coming to the table this early. I think they're going to find some common ground here.
Well, we know a lot of the farmers will be watching as well. It was Canada that was responsible for a lot of farmers being forced to literally dump so much of their dairy product that it crippled a lot of those farmers. So there's going to be a big swath of people across the United States watching to see what comes out of this. We will continue to watch it. Of course, we'll take you to the White House when that happens. But let's switch gears just quickly here. The Trump administration launching a new program. That program aimed at expanding the immigration crackdown, removing illegal aliens out of our country. Here's the president on this new plan. Let's watch.
What we thought we'd do is a self-deport, where we're going to pay each one a certain amount of money, and we're going to get them a beautiful flight back to where they came from, and they have a period of time. And if they make it, we're going to work with them so that maybe someday, with a little work, they can come back in if they're good people.
All right, so for some of our viewers who may be hearing this for the first time, the Department of Homeland Security is offering to cover the cost of commercial flights and then provide a $1,000 stipend to those illegal aliens who opt to self-deport from the United States, giving them the opportunity to return legally at a later date. Your thoughts on this plan? Could this actually work? Rashad?
Hell no. Hell no, it won't work. Number one, nobody trusts Trump. He doesn't have trust equity with people who are citizens, let alone those who are undocumented. Number two, all of a sudden, there's no talk about how much will this cost the American taxpayer. Seems as if that argument has been eliminated. In addition to that, let's be clear, this is not fixing anything because the reason why undocumented workers come to the United States of America, 98% of them come here because of what? Work, meaning employers in America are willing to hire them. The same federal law that says it's illegal to work undocumented is the same federal law that says it is illegal to hire an undocumented worker. Why not go after the companies who are the main attractors for those who come here undocumented? And I would say this in closing, the reason why they come here is because of the massive economic disparity between America and that nation. If we work to stabilize those economies, you have less immigration in the United States of America of undocumented individuals simply seeking work.
John, I'm going to let you respond to that.
Yeah, I actually think this is quite innovative. Look, the first job that President Trump and Kristi Noem at DHS have done is to secure the border and decrease illegal crossings. That's been a phenomenal success. Now they're innovating both with a cost-effective and I think compassionate way to handle deportations. Trump's people are basically saying we can do this the easy way or the hard way. We can either send ICE agents to come get you at an extreme cost to the taxpayer, or we can do it on a more cost-effective way. We can incentivize these folks to deport themselves and let them potentially come back in the legal and right way. Look, will it work? That's to be seen. But I think it's an innovative approach, and it costs the U.S. taxpayer less money to deport illegals. So I think it's actually a really smart strategy and something we're not really used to seeing out of the government, which is using tech and innovation to solve problems.
Well, we will be watching to see how it plays out. We know one thing, overwhelming majority of the United States voted to have safer neighborhoods for everyone. We know a lot of the people who came over are not working. They are actually committing crimes, many of them. So the administration focused on that. Gentlemen, it has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for your insight this morning to both of you, John and Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Thanks.
Thanks so much.